Good morning. This is Pastor Jason of Kona Faith Center with a word for today. And the word for today is surrender. I read the word day and night and have for years. It's now a stronghold for me. Stronghold meaning it's the first thing I think about doing after waking up. It's the last thing I think about doing before going to sleep. The Lord has been challenging me to now pray day and night. I'm moving in that direction, although I still have not made it into a habit and certainly not into a stronghold. I know that the Lord is asking me to expand my prayer life, but I don't really know what that looks like yet. Paul writes to Timothy, follow in the footsteps of those of strong faith. Now, I've read a book about George Mueller, who built and supported orphanages, printed Bibles, supported missionaries, all by asking God and no one else to provide the money. I read a book by John Eldredge that was about prayer, even though it took me about half the book to figure that out. I just finished reading a book about John Hyde, who's called the Apostle of Prayer. I'm currently reading a book about Rees Howells entitled Intercessor. The first thing that I have to overcome in reading these books to follow in the footsteps of those of strong faith is the realization that I'm not even close to living that kind of life, having that kind of prayer life that's being talked about in these books. The only way I could even begin to approach what I'm reading about is if the Holy Spirit did an absolute miracle in me, came upon me, and changed me into another man. I cannot let my inadequacies, my guilt, shame, condemnation to limit what the Holy Spirit wants to do, even in me. In reading about Rees Howells, one of the things that struck me was even though he was a churchgoer, lived a life without obvious vices, acknowledged that Jesus is God, his family was part of their congregation, later in life, he had a revelation of the cross that he called his born again moment. This was not a moment per se, but it was a process of surrender that took several days or a week. Then he talked about the absolute need to be filled with the Holy Spirit, which happened later, and which he said was a process of surrender. And then he talked about fully surrendering to the Holy Spirit, which was a process of surrender. And then he talked about the Holy Spirit changing his prayer life from spontaneous things that Rees thought about to a focused, ordered prayer life, praying only the things the Holy Spirit brought to him to pray, which was a process of surrender. I was thunderstruck. I thought about my prayer life being my little laundry list of things. I thought about how I just sort of wander from one idea to the next spontaneously. I thought, I know this, I want to be led by the Spirit, but my prayer life is more about me and what I think than about being led by the Spirit and what He thinks. And I now recognize that I need to surrender some more. I need to pay closer attention to the Holy Spirit. I need to let Him lead my prayer time, my prayer life, more and more. More of Him, less of me. So what's the point today, Pasta? Glad you asked. The point today is surrender, more and more. Each step along the way of being what God made you to be, each step along the way to doing what God made you to do requires more surrender to Him. I want to challenge you today to follow in the footsteps of those of strong faith. I want to encourage you to allow the Holy Spirit to bring the lives of people of strong faith before you. I want to encourage you to surrender today to the next level of the call of God on your life. Help us, Jesus. The word for today is surrender. God bless. Check in tomorrow.